Greetings for 2025, Terry Inniss. They call you Elk. I know you
Yes,
as
they do.
Terry. So, what's new in 2025 for Terry Inniss?
What's new? I'm hoping a lot of things are new. 2024 wasn't a bad year, but I hoping to have, to do some other stuff to help some people, to help our younger people achieve some of their goals. That's basically my real resolution for 2025.
Resolutions, haven't heard that word in a while. I know that, probably not since last year, but um, there are resolutions, and of course, there are things that we look forward to, whether we're the ones who try to achieve them or otherwise. And I know that one of your passions is cricket. Your main passion is basketball. That's not a secret. And you, I would have to say, sarcastically point out that you're a basketballer in a cricket environment. I know better because I know that the cricket actually came first, and it was a question of one of these situations where three men in a room determined that your career would not flow freely. And this is one of the things I love about the new cricket environment, a franchise cricket, and all the various opportunities, because no longer can three men in a room determine the fortunes of a cricketer. He has options.
Right.
And it's reached a stage now where three men in a room sometimes are begging the cricketers to come and play. So, the script has been flipped, if you will.
Yes.
But you've heard enough from me. What do you want to share with us?
Right. To be honest with you, there is it is painful to see our cricket go wrong in this on this merry-go-round of really mediocrity, right? Um, and it is not, I think, to me, it is not a situation where people want to be mediocre. I think what we are not doing is thinking for this century. We try to recreate the 80s and when we were good and that sort of stuff. And we have the same systems that we had in the 80s. We were good then, but obviously, right now, you can see that we are not, I mean, like pushing the professional button really hard. Um, if you notice, for example, we are now eighth in Test cricket. I mean, the only people behind us now is, I think, Zimbabwe and then the associates. We are 10th in ODI, even further down. And the only really format that we are still say that we are top five cricket nation is T20. And that is oscillate between being good sometimes and then being really poor and then being good again. So there's no consistency. And for a person who, for me, as being a coach, we talk about the four stages of learning. And
Let's get this straight. You're talking about being a basketball coach, right? We
yes,
don't we don't want to confuse our viewers here,
no,
huh?
right? Being a coach, a basketball coach, and you know, the four stages of learning could translate into any sport. And what has happened is right now we are not in stage four. We are not in the unconscious stage where we do things without having to think about it. We are more oscillating between two and three, where our professionals are like they know what to do, they can't do it consistently, and that is where our problem lies. Um, we have systems that are outdated. We don't want to be able, we are afraid to say it, because obviously the 21st century, everybody wants to say that they're up with the times, but we are not up with the times. I mean, we are lagging far behind the top tier, and we will continue to lag until we change our thinking.
So, how close are we, do you think, to the change in that thinking, or what are the dynamics that will have to play out to create a change in how we process and how we think?
Right? We gotta be honest with ourselves. Um, are you better off now in within the last decade than decade before or decade before that? Um, and I like to look at systems, I like to look at data. Because though in the Caribbean, when we say data, everybody think, oh, it's something mechanical and you want to make decisions based on, but you want to make decisions based on something tangible. So just let's look at it. Craig Brathwaite. Craig would have played on the Herman Griffith. He would have played on the 15. He would have played on the 17. He would have played on the 19. He played Barbados Youth. He would play in the elite division. He would have played for Barbados senior team, right? That would be a man that you would say can throw our system from the beginning to the end. We also like to say that Barbados system, cricket system, is one of the better ones in the Caribbean. So let me look at that situation. I am not saying anything bad about Craig. I think Craig is a wonderful human being. But what I'm saying is the system that he went through. Craig has a test average of 30s, mid 30s or so, right? Now, if you are being honest with yourself, there's a guy that came right through all of our systems, and he still is not to the level that we would like, right? Not to say that he's not a good cricketer, he's a good cricketer, but he is not at the level that we would like to be or cricketer. So Craig now is what, in his 30s now, his early 30s. And he has Father Time will take over shortly. And from there it will be only downwards you'll be going. All right. So just think about that. If you sit down, you really think about that situation, you will know that something has to be wrong. And I want to give you another statistic. We say Barbados is supposed to be one, as I said, one of the better systems. We played local cricket at all sorts of levels. Age group, Pansahada, Sunday, we play cricket right through. Not since we do not have a test batter who had played 20 tests that has an average over 40. Not since the Honorable Desmond Haynes, and he retired in 1996. So, I mean, that should tell you some things about the cricket and cricket in Caribbean. And if he's saying that Barbados is one of the better setups, then you know something is wrong.
You talk about Craig Brathwaite and his average, and you compared him to players like Desmond Haynes, and you look back, and that really and truly sets the stage to really understand or get a good picture. I don't know the extent to which cricket authorities respond to John Public, but from where I sit, I don't think John Public has really done anything to make the cricket authorities get up and take notice. Now, what do I mean by that? We are both quite often in discussion with people who love sport and who love cricket as much as we do, and in some cases, probably more. And what is the level of discussion? That we should drop Craig, we should drop this body, we should play chase, we should let Hope come back and wicket keep. We should do all these different things. And it really baffles me how we come to those conclusions. By that I mean, do you really think that Craig is a problem? You just pointed out that we haven't had a batsman with an acceptable record since Desmond Haynes. This is from Barbados.
It is from
And
Barbados.
outside of Barbados, you haven't had that many. I can only think of Brian Lara. I'm talking about averages 40 and above.
Yeah.
I can only think of Brian Lara. Ramres Sarwan, maybe somewhere between 39 and 40. There is Chris Gale. There's Shivran Chandapal. Now, if somebody says, hold on, Philip. Yeah, I may have forgotten one or two people at best. Nobody can name 10 people that I have left out of that list. So don't
No,
even
they
worry
can't.
to tell me that I may have left off Dwayne Bravo. I'm not interested. The point is, it's a small list. So our problems in Test cricket right now have absolutely nothing to do with the form of Craig Brathwaite or the decision making of Craig Braffett. It is to do with the fact that we need to build or rebuild something that can achieve the objectives we want.
Right. And that's why I talk about changing thinking. And we gotta start thinking, or we have to start thinking more of the younger people or our young generation and to understand that our thinking will affect their careers, right? And if you don't have the right systems, like for example, right now we have two young people that I know personally, Zion Buffett and Deshaun Matara, right? I mean, those are people that are not 20 yet.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about losing Zion to basketball.
No, Deshaun.
Well,
Cause
at least Jason has a little bit of height by
yeah,
Barbadian standards.
but
So,
Zaire understands. His dad understands. You know that he will make more money playing cricket than he would ever make playing basketball,
well, not
right?
only that, he would probably make more money playing cricket, franchise cricket, even without catching a plane to Lee Grantley Adams Airport than basketball.
Yes, correct. So my thing about that, I met these two young men, two nice young men. I knew Jashan from from baby. I met Zion like a couple of years ago at a basketball court where he was coaching. He's a nice young man, and he really loves cricket. Now he will do. I what really got me to start to endear him to me was he had a game. We were practicing Saturday night. And he had a game this Sunday. I think he told me he had a semi-final game this Sunday. And he got up around, we were practicing, say, between, I think it was 7 and 9. And he got up around 8 o'clock and said, well, I got to go home and get some rest because they have a semi-final game the next day. Now, I have some young people that I know that is got to go to work the next day and at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're still on the phones and they know they got to get up to get work for 8 o'clock. So, you know, to me, I saw this is a youngster that understands that you got to get your rest, right? I understand. I really want to put in a good performance. So my thing was, do we let those people like those two guys just come and play cricket and then when they get 30, somebody say, oh, they're too old now, so and that's it. I mean, and they didn't really achieve what they really want, their true potential. Because I'm not only talking about just playing around the leagues in the world. I'm saying I want you to be the best you can be and be at the top of your game. And if you're in a system that creates international cricketers and not just a system that push out people to play international cricket, because there's a difference,
Mm-hmm.
then you should achieve your potential. You should reach your potential, achieve all your cricketing goals. And I think we cannot allow the negative thinking and the insularity and to affect the cricket to a point where that our young people don't really benefit from playing cricket, and that it will come to that point.
Well, I heard about Craig Braffett before you ever saw him. I was on an
Correct.
overseas assignment at the time, and the coach in the country where he was, he'd gone to a tournament. I don't remember which tournament, but it was a tournament that included, it was a junior tournament. And he came back and he told me about this Barbadian guy, Craig Braffett. And one of the things, he didn't tell me about how many runs he scored. He told me he was impressed because, as he pointed out, a very similar experience to what you described as Zion. Um, Prior to match day, as he put it, the youngsters were, having a good time and not necessarily doing anything that they shouldn't be doing, but they were relaxing, enjoying themselves, and having fun the night before the big game. And as he put it, Craig was like, I don't remember the exact word he used, but it was sort of like I got the impression this guy was like meditating or sitting down, just reflecting or thinking, visualizing what he's supposed to be doing. And
Mhm.
that impressed the coach. He would have been probably around 13 around that time if I trying to remember when the coach shared this with me. And I'd never seen Craig at that point because they said I'd been on an extended overseas assignment. And it therefore is no surprise the way his cricket has developed in terms of the success he's had. People will only remember because we're not elephants. Elephants they say have long memories, but
Yeah.
human beings have been proven time and time again to have short memories. So
Very
Craig
short.
has not scored too many runs in the last year or so, and we've forgotten the 12 or 13 centuries, because our memories are short. But there haven't been many cricketers from the West Indies, in fact, any in the last decade who can. In fact, if you take out Chanderpaul and Lara, I would even risk leaving Bravo in there, even although I don't off the top of my head remember how many centuries he scored. But you take out the big three, Chanderpaul, Lara, and Gale. And I would not be surprised if you can't get 13 centuries if you add all the others together. So you have to accept that Bradford has done well. Would we have loved if he'd done better? Of course.
Of
But is
course.
he in a system or an environment that facilitated the likelihood of him doing better? I know from my own research that he has done pretty much everything that one could do as an individual, looking out for oneself with a support system that is accessible to you. So this is not a lazy cricketer who doesn't train or who doesn't try to put things in place to help himself. There are such cricketers. He's not one.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's much more that he could have done um, to continue to be successful. But he has done well, and I think that as West Indian people, we need to stop remembering just what happened the day before and look at things in their entirety.
Yeah, I also have sympathy for Craig because outside of Test cricket, really the next best cricket he has is probably side cricket in Barbados. And if you run in a rut like he's in now, it can take longer for him to get back up out of it because he's not having that top level cricket. I I I don't I don't subscribe to the view that any cricket will get you back in shape. The right cricket has to get you back in shape. And if you're getting top quality bowling and, really having to dig in, you will get back your form because, they say that form is temporary and class is permanent, right? And he's a class player. So we expect that eventually he will get out of it. But the problem is that we have in the Caribbean is that you only have to have a couple of tests and you don't score any runs and then you become, persona non grata. And that's mainly because, we want success, but we don't understand there's a process to the success. And the process is long, arduous, and consistent and diligent. It is not just go and hit a few balls like I hear one court said, go and hit a few balls and then you'll be okay. That doesn't work that way. And we gotta understand. We keep saying using technology in cricket. Now, you will find, and I want you, I I haven't done extensive research on it, but I could tell you. Usually, what happens, we will bring in a batter who's had a good season, and we will bring in, and he will play against the opposition, and he will score some runs early in the opposition. With the opposition, he will score some runs early, and we would, have big headlines in newspapers, and he will be the best thing since cheese. And then you will find out that a couple innings down the road, he don't even look like he know how to hold a bat. Why? Because the people got a video, they work out, his weaknesses. They see how many times he get out playing this shot or that shot. And then they work on that is what they're working on. So I know with the advent of AI, is even the analysis even getting even deeper. So for things like a ball landing on a pitch and you're in a particular position and that's the way you got out, then the opposition can use that then against you. Now, just think about it. If we are not using the technology, and we are not using like things like batting position and where your feet were when you got out, or when you play X shot, or you score a lot of runs with a cover drive, but you also get your stumps disturbed fairly regularly, like one of our players. But you gotta know
What about that?
those are things that people are breaking down and working on us, and we seem not to understand that. And I don't understand what analysis um, that we do in the Caribbean. I'm not saying anything bad about anyone, but this has been what 30 something years, and we have been just like, I mean, like just mediocre. I mean, we would have flashes of brilliance, right? Where we would play a good tournament or we would play a couple good tests, but ordinarily we are just average. And do you want to just be average in the world? I mean, I don't think as a rich cricketing heritage that we have, we don't want to be average. I mean, average as far as Zimbabwe and Bangladesh, not the West Indies.
I take issue with that comment in defense of those countries because actually, I think they have actually probably done more to move beyond average. Because if you look at what they're up against in terms of even resources, in terms of the history of the game, in other words, there are so many legends using the word in the way that it really should be used. Literally legends who can be accessed in the Caribbean, for example, to offer some insight into any particular problem. How many legends exist in those countries?
That is, I'm not saying anything bad about Zimbabwe
Oh,
and
I didn't take it that way. I
right?
was just
I'm
what I'm
just
saying
saying,
is
I'm
that,
just saying that they don't have the history that we have. So if you
but they've got the
know,
will and the
but and
desire
not only
and maybe
that,
an understanding of what to do.
I think that they want to do well, right? We want to compete, right? You understand? So if you want to compete, you can make the ad hoc decisions that we made. Now, I am going to go somewhere where a lot of cricketers will not go because I don't have any skin in the game. I'm a basketballer, and unless cricket,
Yeah. We've heard
unless
that
cricket,
before.
unless cricket start playing with a real big ball,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have to worry. But I
Uh-huh.
can go somewhere now that a lot of people will not want to go. We made Darren Sammy our white ball cricket coach. He had the thinnest of resumes, the thinnest. We have had coaches with resumes that were more established and more accomplished, and we fired him. He has the thinnest of resumes. No, I'm not saying that he will not turn out to be the best coach that we ever had, but I am saying if you are getting a 747, do you want to get in it with a pilot with only 4 hours of flying time? I hope that he lands the plane. That West Indies cricket is a 747. So that that is one of the things that the decisions that we make. And then what we do, we compound it by saying, okay, let's make him of all cricket. And I'm saying, okay, he might turn out to be the best coach we ever had. But I'm saying, what made you make that decision? What was your thought process when you made that decision? Because he's a friend of someone in top tier, right? I mean, I'm saying that if the decisions that we made is be like, I don't know. I know that like spaceship and out of this world decisions. And then what even hurts even more is that we sit and we take the flimsiest of excuses and reasons why we make these decisions that are not based on anything besides somebody feeling, right? And that is where we are having our issues.
Well, yes, the Darren Sammy selection has um, been cause for lots of discussion, and I get the point you're making. I think that the problem goes there's not aspect to the whole thing as well. I've been hearing some concerns expressed about one person having the authority to choose a team. Um, Personally, I have absolutely no problem with that, but it must come along with something else. Where you have responsibility, then to me, there's great expectation and a need for serious accountability. Three men in a room can cause more problems than it can solve because three men in a room, I can tell you, usually ends up with compromise. And the word doesn't even come to me very easily now, but I'm going to pick John. I'm going to pick John because John is from your club, because I want you to pick Joseph. Well, let me not use the name Joseph. um, I'm Philip,
Yeah.
who is from my club, and you get that sort of thing going on. And I don't know that that really serves any purpose because at the end of the day, which selector is the selector responsible for the bad picks? Is the captain responsible? Is the board responsible? For me, if you've got the coach being the one selector, there's only one person to point a finger at when you're not doing well. And if that coach has the minimum of common sense, just the bare minimum, he will do what he needs to do to keep his job. What do you need to do as a coach to keep a job, Terry? You're a coach in basketball. What is the
Well,
primary thing you need to do to keep your job?
usually at the professional level, you gotta win.
You got to win.
You gotta
Okay?
win.
And we talking about professional cricket when we talk about West Indies cricket. So you
Correct.
got to win. All right? If you want to win, to what extent does it profit you to pick your friend when you know that your friend can't handle it? So if you have the minimum of common sense, all right, and you are the coach and the only selector, there's nobody to look wrong at. You know, we've had conversations with selectors, you know this, Terry, and you talk to a selector off the record, he's your buddy having a drink or something, and he said, man, them fellas, it's them fellas. You're questioning the selection of John.
Yeah.
And he's telling you, man, them fellas. There was actually a selector some time ago who said, in my presence. Man, them fellas, they want a body that in a professional cricketer. This is before the days where it was fully. In other words, you still had your Carolina Best and people of that nature, who
Okay.
were not full-time cricketers. And that was
Mm.
a comment that was said in my presence by somebody who was part of the selection panel or who had been part of the selection panel. I'm not so sure he was part of it when he made that comment,
Mm.
right? So them fellas, no, he would have sat in a room with them and certain players would be left out, much to the amazement of the Caribbean people,
Mm.
because of the performance of these people who were left out. And his response sometime after in a conversation is, them fellas don't want to deal with anybody that in a professional cricket. When I say professional, I don't mean professional in attitude. I mean professional as in full time, as
Yeah,
opposed to a
I
guy who
understand.
working at a bank or something and got to get leave
Yeah.
to go and play cricket. So when you are the only selector, can you come up with something like that?
No, you can't. But what I'm
So,
saying to you,
but just to close out that, so that I
right,
don't have to interrupt you, um, when you respond to this, are you aware? You must be aware by now that South Africa is in the final of the World Test Championship.
yeah.
I don't know if you're aware that their coach is the only selector.
I wasn't aware of that, but
I say no
I
more.
right. My point though, my issue is not him being the only selector. My problem with that is his support. Where is his support coming from? And how good is the support that he's getting? And when he says support, I mean from the territorial level. No, he can't be at every game. He can't be at see every player, but he has to have some sort of support that will, that or some process that he would be confident that when he picks Terry, that he will be picking the right player and not only picking Terry because Terry's from St. Lucia. So I am saying that that's my only concern about that. 20 people in a room and two people in a room could make the same mistake. So my thing about that is his support. And I'm not sure he's going to get that support based on how how divided our cricket is. Because it's really divided. Because if our cricket wasn't divided, we would not be here. I've heard a lot of excuses why we are not good. I hear somebody got one person you keep using we are not hungry enough. I don't know what that means. I never knew what that means. I don't know if it means that you should go to Kentucky or whatever, but I never knew what that
I'll be
means.
not doing any advertising on the show, Terry,
Oh,
but
sorry. So,
but
so
but
I,
just to slip in there a bit in the same theme you're talking about. I had a chat with Roland Butcher, I believe, on this same podcast some months ago. At the time, I think he was either still a selector or he had not long before being relieved of his duties. Um, I may add somewhat prematurely since the teams selected by himself and those with him had done fairly well over the months prior to that. But be that as it may, he made mention of touching base with umpires, and other resource people, other people involved in the cricket. And I just mentioned that to show you that if you give me a job, and I've been in this situation before where I have a task to perform, and I recognize that if I do it as a one-man show, I am not likely to be as successful as if I utilize some other resources. Now, I don't know if the coach has a budget that he can, call on other human resources as he would want. But even without a budget, I don't think you have to pay an umpire who's going to stand up in the middle of a cricket field for several hours during the course of the day and see a batsman or a bowler more close up than anybody else. I don't think you're going to have to pay him to get his take on it. And if you think that that umpire, we don't live in a place where we don't know each other or see each other. So I think that you would choose the umpire that you think is capable of giving you an unbiased and a sincere appraisal of a particular player. So I really am not concerned. People say Sammy can't watch all these games and so on. And I find that an interesting comment. One, because three fellas who are selectors can't watch all the games either.
No.
And not only that, Sammy can't watch all the games, but John Public, each and every one of us, John Cricket, we feel we can pick better teams than Sammy, and we hardly watch any of the games. Well, when I say we, I don't include myself in that realistically. I don't know if I should include you or not, but I can tell you
No, no.
the majority of people that express these concerns. Some of them don't even know, don't even remember where to find Kenton Noble, and have never even heard of the cricket facilities in the various in the neighboring countries. Okay, so but yet they know that you got to drop Braffett, and they know that McCaskey should play instead of Braffett or instead of Louis, and they know that Athanaze shouldn't be playing. That pick should go to somebody else. They've never even gone and watched cricket in Dominica, but they know that Athens shouldn't be playing. So you don't
Yeah,
think that Sammy has a better take on all these things that we have very little knowledge of? So I dismiss the whole thing about how he can watch all this cricket. Because
I
if Philip Hackett can pick a team before a test match and put it out on a podcast, and you can pick a team, and Basil Butcher can pick a team, and you know the crowd that we hang with in this forum, and we can all pick teams and put out there. You're trying to tell me that Sammy can't pick a team?
he can.
And he has more at stake than we do. So I
Yeah.
dismiss that as totally irrelevant.
As I said, I don't. I just think the backup systems is my support systems is what I have my issue with more than Sammy being the last person to say, well, this is the 12 that or 11 is going to be
No,
on.
my comment about Sammy is not only about Sammy. In fact, I should not even have said Sammy. I think we started talking about Sammy, and that's why his name got called
Yeah.
so often.
That's any
I hope he
any
doesn't have good lawyers. But but the same right now, the coach of the test team is Andre Coley, and the same applies to him, to Sammy, or
correct.
anyone else who is charged with the responsibility of picking the team. You know,
Correct.
these guys were born last week. They will put systems in place, even if unofficially. They know people. You think you know more cricketers in the Caribbean than Sammy?
No,
There are people these guys can call on, I'm sure, to get a take on a particular thing. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be at a cost, you know? So I am not worried about that. If a guy wants to do a job well, he will find a way. And as I said, any coach that is given that responsibility in the Caribbean or anywhere else, and he has the minimum of common sense, he will look out for number one for himself. That is, he wants to do well. So, one, he can maintain his job, and two, even if he doesn't maintain his job, because every coach has a shelf life, yeah. So
yeah.
when he moves on from that particular team, his resume is such that somebody else can pick him up. You notice that Phil Simmons is never out of work or what is
No, he isn't.
you know
No.
what I'm saying? So you want to do well for your own personal development. And therefore you have no problem with a one coach picking the team.
Right. Well, we agree on that part. It's just that where we may be a little in at odds would be, to me, the support systems in the Caribbean. And I'm not talking about just an umpire or someone that I'm talking about something like how do we know we have the right players that we are getting. And I'm not talking only about test cricket. I'm talking about cricket, full stop. Do we know, how are we getting those players? How are we getting those players at scratch? How do we know that Terry, who is playing in Third Avenue Ivy, is the best cricketer in the Ivy that you can take to academy or take to higher cricket sphere and improve him and get him into international level. That's mainly my thing. Because we do some really strange things. I mean, we took up a guy, Jeremy Salazano, and we took him to Sri Lanka. I think it was Sri Lanka. And unfortunately he got hurt before even batting. He got hurt on the field. And he took no further part in that tour, and we have not seen from him since. He has not been mentioned in any like 30, or he may be mentioned in 30, but he has never got back to the prominence of, because he was going to open batting for West Indies test team. Yet, right now, where is he? And that's where I have my issues when it comes to understanding systems and understanding professional sport. And I think we lose I don't think that we understand professional sports. And it's not only cricket, it's all sports. There's so much we can learn from like Jamaica when it comes to athletics. How they don't have the most money in the world, yet they have produced like within the last 20 years, they have produced like top world-class sprinters. Why? And those are things that we can learn from. But the cricket people, and I always say cricket people, think that you have to play 116 tests, or you have to be, you have to go to somewhere, a cricket academy or something to understand sports and understand sport administration. And sport administration sometimes don't even have anything to do with you actually playing that sport. And that's where we like, I don't know. I can't find a word to say it,
But Terry, let me help you here. I mean, I think what you're saying is that even a guy who may have been the only person in a team at the first division level in a school team, even if he was the only one who failed to make the national junior team, even that guy, fast forward a few decades, has a contribution to make. But I'm not making any more sport than anybody else now. So to get back to being serious, um, we're into 2025.
Mm.
And given all that you've said and all that you've shared and all that is on your heart, I want you to identify 3 wishes that you have for West Indies cricket in 2025 and possibly beyond. I say possibly beyond because some of these things may not come to fruition in 2025, but the process may start.
Yes. My first wish would be for our people to understand that we all have to get to the top of the Blue Mountains. And if it is not one person, it will be all of us. And if we don't get there, then we will have issues. And all of us have to be taken to the top. That's the first thing I want to say, that we understand that all of us has to move. The second thing is we need to change our thinking. And we are not changing our thinking for us. We are changing our thinking for our young people, to make our young people, to give our young people a better chance of, succeeding through cricket, right? And the third thing I would say is to make 2025 the year of ascension of West Indies cricket on the world stage. And to do that, we have to employ my first 2 wishes, which would be bring all of us to the mountain top and change the way we're thinking for our young people. Those are 3 things that I feel that that I will wish for cricket. And we have to see the cricket as, if West Indies cricket is strong and is at its top of its game, everyone will benefit. Everyone will benefit. Our economies will benefit. Everyone will benefit. The issue is we are thinking small. We don't need the world of money. We just need to use the little money we have wisely.
Terry, I'm going to get some input from some of our regulars and just to get their take on the wishes for West Indies cricket in 2025. But thanks to you. And this is a conversation that we can continue um, sometime soon. I'm expecting that Anything Cricket Let's Talk will be more visible during 2025, at least on a consistent basis. And I think that even having some others in with you next time could even drag a little bit more out of you as we move forward in
Yes,
helping West Indies cricket achieve what we all want West Indies cricket to achieve. Thanks again, Terry.
no problem. Thank you.